A group of friends were riding a bus out of Chicago, heading toward a cabin deep in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. A few hours into the trip, they started playing music. Everyone was in a great mood, and before long they were dancing right there in the aisle. The bus wound slowly along a dark mountain road. An older woman, maybe 55 or 60, sitting near the back, suddenly shouted at them to stop. The bus driver's assistant heard her and came over, telling the group to sit down and stay quiet. He walked back to his seat. But that's where things started to go wrong. By the end of this story, you'll understand exactly what you shouldn't do when you're traveling through the mountains, and why you need to take it seriously. This story was sent in by a man named Ryan, a gym teacher at a school in Chicago. Ryan says he'd gotten close with several of the other teachers at his school. On December 24th, during lunch, a group of them started talking about taking a trip together. Ryan suggested, everybody goes to the big tourist spots. Let's go somewhere quieter, a little cabin town in the Smokies called Ashford Hollow. It'll be more peaceful. Everyone loved the idea. 9 people signed on, 3 couples and 3 singles. The couples were Dana and her boyfriend Josh, Riley and her boyfriend Cole, and Amanda and her boyfriend Derek. The 3 singles were Vanessa, Ryan, and Nora. Ryan says Riley and Dana were 2 of his closest friends, and their boyfriends had also become close with him over time. Those 5 had the tightest bond in the group. Ryan booked the bus tickets in a wooden cabin out in Ashford Hollow. Right after booking, though, his health took a sudden turn. A few days before the trip he could barely get out of bed. It felt, he says, like something was trying to stop him, like a voice in the back of his mind kept saying, "Don't go, this isn't a good idea." Still, the bus was set to leave at 7 p.m. By 4 p.m. that day he felt terrible. He forced himself up anyway, called a cab, and made it to the station where the rest of the group was waiting. The moment he stepped onto the bus, something strange happened. He felt completely fine. No fever, no weakness, nothing. Like it had all just switched off. The bus pulled out of Chicago a little after 7:15 p.m. Around 11 p.m., it stopped at a rest area near a diner so everyone could eat. While his friends sat outside at the picnic tables, Ryan went in to use the restroom. He washed his hands at the sink, and felt someone standing right beside him. A tall presence, close enough to feel the air change. He didn't want to look straight at it, so he glanced sideways instead. No one was there. He splashed water on his face, thinking maybe he was imagining it. The feeling didn't go away. The bathroom was completely empty, and a thin fog outside made the whole place feel colder than it should have. Then a voice, quiet and close to his ear, said, "Don't go there. It's dangerous." Ryan spun around. Nothing. Just silence, and the fog outside the window. He left without telling anyone and sat back down with the group, telling himself it was just his mind playing tricks after being sick all week. After dinner, they climbed back on the bus and, once things settled down, pulled out a speaker and started playing music again, louder this time, dancing in the aisle without a thought for the other passengers. A few people stayed quiet about it. But eventually the older woman from before stood up and snapped, "It's the middle of the night. Why are you making all this noise?" Her voice was sharp enough that the bus attendant came back a second time and told them to pack up the speaker for good. They did, but the whole group was left irritated with her. Around 1 a.m., Dana said she needed to use the bathroom. It's common enough on long mountain drives. The guys asked the driver to pull over. He said it wasn't a good spot, dense trees, no shoulder, a blind curve. They went back to their seats, but a few minutes later came back and pushed harder. Eventually the driver gave in and stopped along the tree line. The whole group filed off the bus. The girls went a little way into the woods, the guys stayed near the road. After about 90 seconds, the driver leaned on the horn. "Let's go, folks. This isn't a place to hang around." Everyone climbed back on, and the bus continued on toward Ashford Hollow, still 4 or 5 hours away. About 7 minutes after they got moving again, everyone noticed Dana. She was staring down at her own feet, her head tilted at an angle that looked wrong. A few seconds later, she stood up, walked to where the older woman was sitting, and just stared at her, a cold, unpleasant stare from about 4 feet away. Her friends, worried she was about to start something, called her back. Josh, her boyfriend, laughed it off. "Dana, quit trying to scare the poor woman." Everyone chuckled, but on her way back to her seat, Dana suddenly collapsed to the floor of the bus, thrashing. Her friends rushed over. She was clutching her own throat, gasping, like she was fighting something off. Josh ran to the driver. "Please, stop the bus, something's wrong with her." The driver refused. A curve like that, at night, in the mountains, was not a place to stop for anyone. But the attendant came back, splashed water on her face, and had Josh carry her up to the front for air. Within a few minutes she came back to herself. She told the group someone had grabbed her from behind and tried to choke her. When she pulled down her collar, there were 4 faint marks across her neck, like fingers. Ryan felt a chill. First the bathroom, now this. It didn't feel like a coincidence, but he still hadn't told anyone what happened to him at the rest stop. Still, no one wanted to ruin the trip over it. They'd barely gotten the time off work. So they let it go and tried to enjoy the rest of the ride. At 5 the next morning, the bus dropped them near a highway junction outside the hollow. From there, it was another 2 hours by car to reach the cabin. 2 rental SUVs were waiting. While they waited, Ryan called an old family friend back home, a man named Pastor Mitchell, someone Ryan had gone to for guidance since he was a kid. He told him everything, the bathroom, the voice, what happened to Dana. Mitchell told him to stay calm. "You're wearing the medal I gave you. Nothing's going to happen to you." He reminded Ryan that he'd had a bad feeling about this trip from the start, and that he should have listened. They loaded up and drove the last 2 hours into the valley, arriving at the cabin around 7:15 a.m. It sat about a mile up a hiking trail from the main road. Most of the group went straight up to unload their bags, but Ryan was still on the phone with Mitchell, so he told Riley, who'd ridden with him, "Go ahead and get settled, I need to use the bathroom first." Being in good shape, Ryan jogged the trail up to the cabin, checked in, freshened up, and came back down about 10 minutes later. When he reached the road, he saw his friends huddled near an old oak tree at the edge of a ravine, all of them crying, calling his name. He ran over. The second they saw him, their faces went white. "How are you here?" Riley asked. "You just jumped." Ryan had no idea what she meant. Riley explained, right after he'd left for the cabin, they'd seen him come back down the trail less than 2 minutes later. They'd asked if he'd really finished already. He didn't answer. He walked straight to the tree and jumped into the ravine. They'd been standing there ever since, calling down, hoping for any sign of life. Ryan understood immediately. Something had taken its shape to try to draw his friends toward the ravine. He tried to calm them down, blaming exhaustion and stress after the night they'd had, and led everyone up to the cabin. The property had a small sitting area out front with a caretaker's house nearby, and a creek running just below the hill. Some rooms were upstairs, some down. Everyone got settled, and Ryan called Mitchell again, who asked him to list off all 8 of his friends by name. Mitchell told him to keep a close eye on 2 of the girls in particular, Dana and Riley. That afternoon they went hiking and visited a nearby waterfall, then came back for the evening. The caretaker had a fire going out front, and a bottle of whiskey got passed around. At one point, Dana turned to Josh and told him to say "I love you." He did, but when he tried to keep talking to her, her voice didn't sound like her own anymore. Every answer felt off, distant, wrong. It turned into an argument. Dana suddenly stood up, furious, and shouted, "You don't love me, I'm going to end it," before bolting toward the edge of the property, straight for the creek below. Ryan had already been watching her closely, just like Mitchell had told him to. He caught up and grabbed her arm, shaking her. "What are you doing?" And just like that, she snapped back to herself, confused, shaken, saying she would have fallen. Her friends helped her to bed, assuming she'd just had too much to drink. The next morning, Ryan asked the caretaker about all the noise from the night before. The caretaker looked confused. "We didn't hear a thing out here. Not a sound after we turned in around 2 a.m. That answer sat wrong with Ryan. There was no way an argument that loud had gone unheard. But it was their last night, and no one wanted to spoil the trip further, so they let it go and spent the day exploring again. That evening, same routine, fire going, drinks out. Riley pulled her chair away from the group and sat by herself a short distance off. Ryan, remembering what Mitchell had told him, kept an eye on her. She was staring straight up at the sky, gripping her glass, her face twisted with something like rage. He walked over. "Hey, why are you sitting way over here?" Riley turned to him and, in a voice that wasn't hers, told him to leave her alone. It stopped him cold. She'd never spoken to him like that in his life. He pulled the medal from around his neck and pressed it to her skin. She blinked, confused. "What am I doing out here?" He explained she'd wandered off on her own. She brushed it off, blaming work stress, and they rejoined the group by the fire before everyone turned in for the night. There were 2 rooms downstairs. Riley and Cole shared one, Vanessa, Nora, and Ryan shared the other, right next door. Once everyone had gone to bed, the three of them locked their own door from inside and went to sit with Riley and Cole next door instead, planning to chat until they got tired. Riley sat on the bed with Cole beside her. Ryan and Vanessa took the two chairs, and Nora sat near the foot of the bed. They were all talking, everything calm, until Riley suddenly burst into tears. Before anyone could react, she jumped up and bolted for the door. Ryan, a big guy, over 6 feet and pushing 200 pounds, tried to grab her on the way out. She shoved him so hard he stumbled back nearly 10 feet. She ran straight to the room next door, the one they'd locked from the inside, somehow got it open, went in, and locked it again behind her. They pounded on the door, shouting, but no one else in the cabin stirred. Not the caretaker, not the friends sleeping upstairs. There was a small window on that room with a gap in the curtain. Ryan found it and looked through, and saw Riley standing straight up against the wall, being pulled upward, like something had her by the hair, lifting her off the floor. He called Mitchell immediately and got him on a video call, angling the phone through the gap so he could see. Mitchell said something under his breath, a prayer, low and steady. A few seconds later, Riley slid back down the wall and dropped to the floor. When she came to a minute later, she unlocked the door herself. They put her to bed and placed the metal around her neck for the rest of the night. The next morning, the friends who'd slept upstairs came down completely unaware anything had happened. "We didn't hear a thing, you should have come and gotten us," they said. Ryan admitted he'd been too shaken to think of it. That day, Ryan told the group the truth, everything, from the rest stop bathroom to Dana's collapse to what he'd just seen through that window. On the drive out, they stopped at a small country church Ryan knew of on the way out of the valley and told the pastor everything, start to finish. The pastor had them walk him through it, moment by moment, the diner, the roadside stop, all of it. When they mentioned the wooded pull-off where they'd stopped so Dana could use the bathroom, he stopped them. He held Dana's and Riley's hands for a moment, quiet, and then told them they had stopped, without knowing it, near a place where two restless spirits lingered. Something about the girls had drawn their attention, and they had followed the group all the way to the cabin, waiting for a chance to take one of them. "The only reason you're all still fine," he said, "is because of the protection you've been carrying with you this whole trip. That energy has been shielding you the entire time." Then he told them something that chilled the room. The two spirits were still with them, right now, but they couldn't cross onto church grounds. They were waiting just outside. He tied a small cord around each of their wrists and had them repeat a short line together, "Whoever walks with us, stay here, let us go." He told them not to look back, not even once they stepped outside. They did exactly as he said, caught their bus, and made it home to Chicago without anything else happening. There's a lot that happens in the mountains that people from the city just don't understand. If you've ever spent real time out in the backcountry, you probably know exactly what I mean.